joining us right now, live on the phone, exclusive interviews in the White House tonight, President Donald Trump. Mr. President, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. They did a very good job, I will say.
Okay, they get good grades. Let me go to the Woodward book. I was first surprised that you spoke to him. I don't think a lot of good comes from talking to Bob Woodward, my own personal opinion. But let's go to the things that Karl Rove was pointing out that Biden said today. 10 days after the first identified case, 10 days, you put the travel ban in effect. And it was a subsequent ban, the first quarantine in over 50 years. He said it was hysterical xenophobia and fear-mongering on your part. 2.5 months later, he reversed himself, at least according to a campaign ad. What do you believe that one decision, at 10 days after the first case in America, what impact did that have? And what were you saying to Bob Woodward?
Well, first of all, on the Woodward book, on the book itself, he called. I didn't participate in his last one, and he does hit jobs with everybody. He even did it on Obama. But constant hit jobs on Bush. I guess they did 3 books. They were all terrible. So I figured, let's just give it a little shot. I'll speak to him. It wasn't a big deal. I speak to him, and let's see. I don't know if the book is good or bad. I have no idea. Probably, almost definitely won't read it because I don't have time to read it. But I gave it a little bit of a shot. Sounds like it's not going to be good. But if you look at what I said today, I said, don't panic. We don't want to be jumping up and down and going wild. Don't panic. I'm a cheerleader for this country, and I don't want to see panic. And I thought what Matt said was fantastic, because we would have lost 2 million, 2.5 million lives instead of the number we're talking about. Anything above 1 is no good. It's no good. We can't have it. It was China's fault. They sent this to us, and it's no good. But I thought I'd give the Bob Woodward some time. I gave him some time. But as usual with the books he writes, that didn't work out too well. Perhaps, I don't know. Maybe it's good. Who knows? But as far as the timing is concerned, I did something very important. As you know, at the end of January, I banned China, because the people from China, because they were heavily infected. And I had a lot of people, including Dr. Fauci, and I don't say that with disrespect. It's really what he believed. But a lot of people believe that we shouldn't ban him. It was no reason to ban him. And Biden was going around for many, many weeks after that saying it's not even going to be a problem. You covered it incredibly. Actually, Karl Rove covered that incredibly tonight, and just incredibly, actually. And they were all going around, no problem, no problem. Everybody, practically everybody. Nobody had any idea it would be as violent as it turned out to be. And we studied it. We understand it. Now we're opening up. But we could have lost 2 million, 2.5 million, maybe even more than that if we did it a different way. And we've done a really good job. And if you look at our numbers, our fatality numbers compared to other countries, we're in really, I mean, it's amazing what we've done. We've been able to do something that a country, especially with the kind of size we're dealing with, we've done an incredible job.
I watched your press conference today, and the general tone of the questioning was that you misled the country because you told Bob Woodward on February 7th, this looks like it's going to be 5 times as bad as a normal flu virus. I think most Americans may not even know that there are years with the influenza virus that we lose tens of thousands of Americans. It's not uncommon. But your actions just 7 days earlier were you put a travel ban in effect, and a quarantine in effect, again, hasn't been done in 50 years. So actions mean something, and you taking it seriously was very clear then. And then when you said, well, I don't want people to panic, they say, well, you must have been downplaying it. Wouldn't your actions contradict that narrative?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at, we've had flu years where we lost 70, 80, and 90,000 people. People don't realize that. But if you look that and multiply that times 5, it's actually more than we lost. Now, we could have lost 2 million, 2.5 million, as Matt said, if we did it a different way. But what I want to show is I want to show a calmness. I'm the leader of the country. I can't be jumping up and down and scaring people. I don't want to scare people. I want people not to panic. And that's exactly what I did. And if you look at the representatives of Joe Biden, you see what they were saying. They said, no problem, this won't be a problem. He didn't think it was going to be a problem until months later. He was way late. Pelosi was way, way late. And I was at the end of January, far ahead of everybody, because I did something nobody wanted me to do. Nobody wanted me to do the ban on China. And then, as you know, shortly thereafter, I did a ban on Europe. That was, frankly, even more controversial. And that was good because I saw what was going on in Italy and in Spain and in France. And we did a ban there. And if we didn't do those bans, we would have had numbers that were much, much more. And if we didn't do the shutdown and now the reopening, and they should do the opening faster. If you look at some of the states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, you look at what they're doing. They're shut down. They're still shut down. Michigan is terrible. It's still shut down. And that's a shame. It's a shame. They don't know what they're doing, frankly. But they should all be open, and our country is doing very well. We have record numbers of jobs. You saw the numbers just came out. For the 4 months, it's the largest number ever, by far, not even close. And retail sales, the same thing. It's record numbers. So we're opening up with a strong V, not just a V. It's a very strong V. And we're going to have a tremendous year next year. We're going to have a very good quarter, and that's going to be announced before the election.
But there's voting going on now. You see Joe Biden, he makes very few appearances. The media seems to be willing to, I don't think he's answered 100 questions since March. You've answered a couple of thousand plus questions in that period of time. Do you think the media is giving him a pass? Do you see, look, everybody that I meet, that I run into everywhere, and even people in the media, interestingly, quietly, and Democrats I know quietly are saying Joe looks like he is weak and he is frail. How do you interpret Joe Biden, the basement bunker strategy, his unwillingness to take questions?
Well, the media, in terms of what they're doing, is actually worse than what you're saying, because it looks to me like they're asking him a question and then he's reading an answer off the teleprompter. Now, that would mean that, like your friend over there, Donna Brazile, who Fox brilliantly hired.
He sounds like your favorite host.
Donna Brazile, that's another real great one. But it would look to me like he's been given the questions and he's reading the answers. But that would mean that the media is giving him the questions. They never gave me the questions, I can tell you that. It's like we have some pretty wild times, but they hit me with the worst possible questions possible. And you have to learn to do it, and you have to be able to do it. And if you can't do it, you can't be a politician. You certainly can't represent our country, because when you deal with President Xi and Putin and Kim Jong-un and all of the people you have to deal with, in all due respect to the media, they're much tougher, they're much smarter than the people I have to deal with in the various rooms and outside by the helicopters and all the places I'm willing always to take questions. But I don't get any help in terms of here's the question and you can read an answer to it. I've never seen anything like it. And frankly, I think the media is disgracing themselves. But it's obvious that Joe is reading the answers off a teleprompter in many cases. That happened yesterday when he said, move it closer. A woman asked him a question, I think is what he said. Move it closer, meaning move the teleprompter closer. It's terrible. It's actually terrible.